But on November the 17th, 1865, Engels wrote the following letter to Marx. I quote it. "What have you got to say about the insurrection of niggers in Jamaica and the brutalities of the English?" 3 days later, Marx replied as follows, I quote, "The Jamaican story is characteristic of the cur-like vileness of your true Englishmen. These fellows have nothing to reproach the Russians with." Talk about Russia and England and said nothing about the poor Jamaica. The question of the role of the small farmer, Mr. Party Chairman, as everybody in this audience knows, in our agricultural development was an important issue in our general elections in 1976 in Trinidad and Tobago. But this is not academic stuff we're dealing with. Our opponents calling for state ownership of the sugar industry, and then they're giving it over to the workers' ownership. Whilst we proclaimed the protection and improvement of the cane farmer, they wanted to take away the land from the cane farmer, with division of lands not suited for sugar into small farms or cooperatives for diversified agriculture. You remember the point? We went all over the country, 1976. Our white paper on agriculture spelled this out. Since then, our political scene has now been diversified by a Communist Party of Trinidad and Tobago, so that it becomes most relevant to us to consider the place of the peasantry under a communist regime with priority to the thinking on it by Marx, Lenin, and Stalin, and therefore to anticipate our position in the next election, what we're going to say about the peasantry, what we're going to say about agriculture, and what we're going to say about the communists who stand for collectivization of agriculture and getting rid of the peasant. I'll tell you some of the things that I will tell you some of the things that you can deal with them with. Like the Boy Scouts, be prepared. You don't know when it will come. So, the young Marx was in his early writings a great champion of freedom and the choice of occupation. He contrasted the capitalist system of production, in which every man was kept chained to a rigid sphere of activity, with the ideal of a regulated communist society in which each man would be able, I quote him, to do this today and that tomorrow, to hunt in the morning, to fish in the afternoon, to carry on cattle breeding in the evening. Of euphoria did not last long. In his doctrine of Marxism, he was generally so utterly concerned with the industrial proletariat, working class, as to seem annoyed at the very existence of a needy rural class. It has been said of Marx and his disciples, I quote, they paid attention to the peasants only because they looked upon them with a dislike in which the tonguesman's contempt for all things rural and the economist's disapproval of small-scale production, another attack on the PNM with its people's sector and its small business, mingled with the bitterness of the revolutionary collectivists against the stubbornly individualistic tiller of the soil. Marxism proclaimed a holy war against the peasants, culminating in the liquidation of the Russian peasantry by the victorious Soviets. Could we make Mr. Party Chairman, could we make our election statement here now? Nobody will liquidate the peasantry in Trinidad and Tobago as long as we have the PNM in the system. Listen to what you will be up against if they quote the things for you. If they don't quote them, ask them about it. Tell them that I have all, and what I give you here tonight, I have plenty more. For everyone I give you, I could give you 5 minutes.